Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Matt Willson SFL Kickoff Show. I am Mike Daggs. He is Gerald Smith. Behind the scenes, we've got Cameron Irvine and Ron Haynes on production. Welcome to Week 3 of Season 25 of the Simulation Football League. Gerald, how you doing today?
You got 2 weeks down for some teams. None of them mine, which is great. I can see everyone else fail. Whoever lost last week, you failed last week. I don't have to fail. I'm just not existent.
We'll get into the picks game later. Talk about
whether
you failed or not.
Yeah.
But, you know.
But I'm happy. It's good.
Yeah. We're down one Joey Ramos-Lynn this week. It's back to just the two of us.
Yeah, it's a little heavy in here, but it was great. It was really, really fun last week. Anybody ever has a chance to do a 3-man booth in person, do it. Or even a show, if you got one, do it in person. It's an amazing thing.
It's a great time. We got Frank Doom in the chat. We got Christian Bachagalupi in the chat from Oklahoma City. We might talk about Oklahoma City in just a little bit. Getting their first win. In fact, why don't we get into it right now? Let's talk about the previous week. 5 of the 8 games last week were 1-score games, so another great week of close action. Albuquerque continuing to be dominant at home. They had a 27-point victory over the Washington Trident, 37-10. I thought that one was going to be a little bit closer, but an absolute blowout.
The Adams are just so good at home.
So good at home. Away is a whole different story. So we'll see what happens. Next time they hit the road. Speaking of teams that were on the road. Oklahoma City Renegades at Minnesota Legend. There's a pick that you and I both got wrong.
Yeah.
How about OKC?
And that's the thing. And look, and we were talking about it. So, hey, look, what is going on? And there was rumors that if this team lost against OKC, an owner said somebody might lose their job. So we need to get a report. We need to find BJ Lovelace. I need to find out who lost and may have lost a job because that was stated early on. They lose against OKC and OKC pulled it out. In dramatic fashion.
In dramatic fashion, indeed. We'll talk about that game a little bit more in just a little bit. But a 3-point win, 37-34 over the Minnesota Legend. It was a fantastic game that Oklahoma City actually got out in front early, and Minnesota clawed their way back into it. Oklahoma City pulling it out in the end. Arizona, now 2-0. They beat Mexico City in week 1. They went on the road, played Lexington. 34-30. They got their second win, but it wasn't. It
was so close. I'm like, I can't lose this game. And guess what they did? Eddie was able to go down there because the Miners scored late on that as well, right? Yeah. They scored late to kind of take the lead, and Arizona's able to go down there and finish them off.
Houston Headhunters of the South hosting Queen City. This was a game where I went back and forth on the pick. It's like, man, I think Queen City might finally have some stuff worked out. They won in week 1. Meanwhile, Houston lost in week 1, so I'm thinking maybe Queen City, could win on the road. And if I remember right, you had said you might have picked them if they were home, but they were on the road in Houston, and my goodness, that was the biggest blowout of the week. 45-9, a 36-point win. Houston just looking absolutely dominant.
And they play at a different gear at home, similar to Albuquerque. Not quite as good, but they play in a different gear at home.
Yeah, absolutely. Another team that was home. And this is one that you and I have talked about many times where we're thinking and saying, we want this team to succeed. They're due for success. And this season, the whole narrative is to change the narrative. 34-14 over the Florida Storm. Los Angeles wins it at home by 20.
I think it says a lot about Los Angeles, but it also, like I said in week 1 show, it says a lot about Florida. LA's got it going on. It wasn't even close. 20 points. They just dominated Florida.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, a lot of great games. There were some other close ones as well. DC and Chicago. Neither one of those teams wanted to score points in that game. 9-3. But,
touchdown.
Hey, somebody had to win. DC pulled that one off. But, hey, let's jump into our offensive and defensive player spotlights to really recap week 2. And listen, I'm excited to do this one. I really, truly am, because sometimes when we do these spotlights, we see some, not necessarily repeat players, because we try to change up the players, but we see a lot of repeat teams, and it's always the dominant teams. How about this one? This week, our offensive player spotlight is none other than the Oklahoma City Renegades quarterback, King Jackson. Let's see that footage. Look at these stats from week 2. This guy just absolutely balled. 29 of 55, 445 yards, 53% completion rate. And look how he spread the ball around. All those targets Look, you can see the stats that each one of them had. He just absolutely dominated. And this is what ended up getting them out early. Tiberius Bovine, in a swing route, able to help his quarterback out here by breaking. Look at him just absolutely truck this defender and waltz into the end zone. First touchdown of the game for either team. Oklahoma City out in front early in this one, 7-0 over Minnesota. Now here we are, 7-3. Minnesota was able to respond, but wait, there's more. King Jackson's going to get his second touchdown pass of the day. This one going to Queen Jackson, the first of a couple of touchdowns for her. Able to do a nice post route into the back of the end zone. That got OKC up 14-3. Minnesota responds again. Now it's 14-10. But King Jackson, he's just able to find targets all game long, just throwing absolute dimes over the center of the field, getting that one over the middle too. But Bachagalupi, who's with us in the chat. And how about this? Stephen McMichaels getting a touchdown reception right here to put Oklahoma City up even further over Minnesota. And this is where everybody in Minnesota at this point is like, wait, what is happening right now? 24-10 as we head into the halftime player of the game, of course, Jackson with 13-20, 197 yards, 3 touchdowns. Give me that for Sipe stats in a game, 136.9 quarterback rating. I would be fine. That's just the first half. Let's get back out into the second half. But look at the score, 30-34. Minnesota got back into it into the second half. But King Jackson, he was not done. He wanted to win this game, and that was the only catch by Jonathan Kilgore, the tight end. He was targeted 5 times, only caught that one, but it was a critical one with a minute to go to get them a first down. And then here we go, 22 seconds to go in the game. This is the game winner. Queen Jackson was lined up down at the bottom. King Jackson just drops back, throws, catch, walks into the end zone untouched. 18 seconds to go now. And Minnesota fell short because of King Jackson and just how well he played. Get another look at that Queen Jackson touchdown catch as King Jackson runs off field. I love what Ron Haynes did there with the
highlight.
Yeah, let's just highlight King Jackson running off the field there. Thank you, Ron, for that. But yeah, 29-55, 53% completion percentage. Listen, he just absolutely balled. 445 yards. He averaged 15 yards per pass, 4 touchdown passes. 35 yards was his long. And then, like I said, spread that ball around. 8 receptions for Bachagalupi, 142 yards. Queen Jackson, 5 catches, 98 yards, 2 tutties. Tiberius Bovine, 7 catches, 85 yards. He also had a touchdown. McMichaels, 5 catches, 61 yards and a touchdown. And listen, Jonathan Kilgore, only 1 reception for 22 yards, but without that, they don't win the game.
Yeah.
So all those receivers getting involved, King Jackson and the Oklahoma City Renegades, congratulations. Because listen, I don't think this is a fluke. I think this might be something that they finally got some things figured out.
See, and that's the thing, and that's what you get with guys who actually been there a couple of seasons. Look, and they're light on actually, contracted players too. Maybe even more than any other team in there. And they go in there and they put together a game like this in the first game, which a lot of people thinking that Minnesota is something of what they had in the past, and a team like that goes into Minnesota, if I remember correctly. They did it on the road. They go in there and they beat them in the manner that they do. Get up big, but stay resilient and able to come back and put that touchdown up late. And like I said, maybe people in Minnesota losing their jobs. I don't know.
I don't know. But at least left scratching their head, wondering like 0-2 now. Like what's going on?
But that's the thing, and now it puts the entire league on notice about this Oklahoma City Renegade team. We doubted them last week, but they came in and they actually stood very tall and showed, hey, look, we're an SFL team too. We're not a pushover.
We did, and we mentioned it all last season too. I'd love to pick Oklahoma City to win a game when we're doing our picks. Show me that you can win. Well, noted. They've shown me that they can win.
Very, very big
win.
Can
they win consistently? That remains to be seen, but they definitely know how to win games. They won on the road against a quality opponent. So kick it over to you. Defensive player spotlight.
Defensive player spotlight of the week for me of last week is going to be Houston Headhunters linebacker number 58, Juan Mississippi. And we're going to see this footage. As you see his stats here, 11 tackles, 2 sacks, 5 TFLs, and a pass defense, right? And where's he going to start out right here with these, with these highlights right here? You're going to see right here, he's going to come in there, and this is going to be very, very well done right here. It's coming right around the edge. They're going to send a lot of people more than they can block, comes around the edge so fast. One Mississippi brings the quarterback down for his first sack of the game. And we're going to see it here. Look how quick he is, right? They block up the middle. Very, very good defensive scheme right there. Blitz scheme. They send everybody out the middle. He comes right around the edge. He's so quick, being able to bring the quarterback down. And this is another one right here. His pursuit right here, right? Being able to navigate his way through, seeing this going one way, being able to navigate his way through and come in there and still make the tackle right at the line of scrimmage. And we're going to see another one. Here's another tackle. How he's able to still navigate his way through. Again, navigate through the trash and everything else. Have his eye on the ball carriers. Very good play recognition. And here goes his, what's going to be his second sack of the game. Somewhat of a coverage sack right here. Comes through, fights off the defender right there. They're trying to bump him. Being able to fight him off and be able to get in there and bring the quarterback down. Credit to his defensive backs on the back end, being able to force the quarterback to hold the ball, still while he fights through, never quits, and gets his next sack. And here it is. So he's like, hey, look, I can make tackles at line of scrimmage and do TFLs. I can make sacks and everything else. Now I'm going to watch this guy here play a little bit of zone and watch the quarterback's eyes as he's coming right across, being able to knock the ball down. Very good in the pass game as well. And this is going to be one of the things. This is one of the final plays of the first half right here. Watch this right here. Being able to play the pass game, read and recognize. And the pocket collapses, sees him, is in the backfield, tackles him for a loss on a dump off in the flats. And you guessed it. He was also the player of the half. 2 sacks, 8 tackles to end the first half, right? And he also has that pass defense as well, and coming in there. So, look, and what we're going to do, we're going to just cap it off right here. Shows how smart he is and how much that he can keep an eye on what he needs to do right here. Spying on the quarterback and still being able to bring him down really quick at read and reacting, and that helped his team get right here to a 45-9 score. So, now, great, congratulations to him right here. But this is a bonus play. We have to see this because this is a very rare thing that you have right here. So we have to put this on here that this man right here, Neil Rivers, gets, it was called by Ramos Lynn at the time.
It was.
Right here, as you come through, quarterbacks gets hit. Big man, Neil Rivers grabs it, picks it off, runs down there 50 yards. Ramos called it the thick 6. It's forever going to be known as that. Anytime a big man gets an interception. Thank you, Ramos Lynn, for that. Thank you, Ron Haynes, for putting that together right here where this man picks it off and brings it in. Because, look, seeing big men do those things, it's such a thing, entertainment, such a highlight. And this is going to be a highlight for this team. And actually, that man right there, Neil Rivers, that he's never going to forget. Doing something like that, that's really, really rare in, sim football, right? So congratulate him. But back to Juan, Mississippi.
Absolutely.
The man on the season, right, has got 26 tackles, 4 sacks, 8 TFLs, and a pass defense.
Week 3.
We're only in. Yeah, we're going to week 3. He's played 2 games. He's averaging 2 sacks per game, people. 13 tackles a game he's averaging. So 4 TFLs out of all that, too. So playing really, really lights out football. Congratulations, Juan, Mississippi. You deserve it.
Dan Tritz didn't have 4 sacks all last season, counting the playoffs.
He's doing it, and it's the way the Houston defense is doing it, right? So they're getting sacks all around. They're getting sacks from the defensive line. They're getting some from the linebackers. Very good defensive scheme and blitz packages they're putting together.
A humble guy too. He's in the chat right now, and he's crediting Jason Peace for the play calling. Listen, the play calling is one thing, putting your players in the best position to succeed. But Juan Mississippi's the one that actually got it done on the field. So. Great highlights, scary highlights for an offensive coordinator.
And this just shows DeMond goes out there and get this guy from Florida, brings him here, and he's an instant impact on the field the first 2 weeks of the season for them.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah, I mean, he's on pace to have record-setting numbers if he keeps that sort of production up. So remains to be seen if it can be done throughout the season. I'm hoping when Mexico City plays him that
look out for 58.
Maybe he takes a week off. I don't know.
Look out for 58, 50, 52, 96. They all good. Yeah, Jason Peace, Blake Craze.
Yeah, use them as like kick returners or something that week instead. Let him do something else. Don't make him always.
What he really wants to say is like, I hope they all blow a knee.
Yeah. Listen, I don't want anybody to get hurt, but if they did. You only can be but so sad. All right, let's get into our week 3 schedule. Let's see what we got on the slate for this week. We'll leave week 2 in the rearview mirror now. On a bye week, Chicago, DC, Los Angeles, Lexington, Minnesota, Queen City. and Washington. So got some teams looking to retool after some of them had some losses this past week. Los Angeles, they get a week off to celebrate, a little victory week for them. So, all right, so let's talk about what we got coming up. The first game, we're going to talk about this one in some more detail, but Mexico City at Baltimore, two powerhouse teams, both of them 0-1. One of them is going to be 0-2. That's going into week 4. One of them is going to have 2 losses. That's wild. That one will be called by Mark Lopez and Steven Mullinex in about 30 minutes.
Both those squads, 2 tough games to start their season.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Detroit at Oklahoma City, Michael Trillo and Eddie Gage. And this is that's a game that in the past, last season, if you saw Indianapolis at Oklahoma City, you would have been like, now I want to see what happens. You know, we got 1-1 at 1-0. Oklahoma City putting up those kind of numbers. Detroit playing pretty good. That should be an exciting game.
Yeah, and it's going to be an interesting one to see. Now OKC is at home.
Yeah.
Now. Look, and we've seen Detroit lose 1 away, and we see Detroit win 1 at home. So we're going to see.
There you go. At 9 p.m., yours truly and Gerald Smith will call Houston at Fort Worth. South Division battle, always exciting.
And it's a battle for Texas, too. So
it is the battle
you
for
got
Texas.
It right here. So, and look, and this time it's in the stockyards.
It is at the stockyards, yeah.
We're going to see it. Look,
Yeah.
and Fort Worth does play well.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll break that one down a little bit as well. Vancouver at Arizona in that same time block later on tonight. Tyler Falk and Ramos Lynn on the call. And that's it for Saturday. For Sunday, we've got 4 more games. Albuquerque at Denver. You've got that Denver squad that you like talking about. It's mainly just Jimmy's hair, but Albuquerque playing on the road, not so good against a pretty red-hot Denver team in week 1. Camera Duty, DJ Kilgannon on the call. I'm excited for that one. With how Albuquerque's played, granted, it's been at home in weeks 1 and 2. I think that's just going to continue right on the road.
See, and that's the thing we're going to try and find out this week. Look, and they're playing a really tough defense, as we know. Because we know Albuquerque, is not as good on the road historically as they are at home. They struggle on the road. They're not as dynamic. But seeing them, how they played the last 2 games, they may turn that around. Denver's got their hands full.
Yeah, they sure do. Here's a couple of teams that are both looking for their first win. Carolina at Pittsburgh, Jacob Clear and Brett Solberg on the call, 6:45 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. And then a couple more teams still looking for their first win. Sin City at Bossier City, Mike O'Neill and Alex West, looking forward to that one, 9 p.m. Eastern and at 9:15. How about Charleston? 2-0 Charleston. I think they had 3 wins last season. They're already 2 in the books here in the first 2 weeks at Florida. Eric Vincent, Rochelle Colston on the call. I had faith in Florida in week 1, and it paid off. I had faith in Florida in week 2, and they're like, nah, we are on the down and out.
I didn't have faith in week 1.
I
They
know.
somehow pulled it out, and I didn't have faith in week 2, and they proved me right.
They proved you right that time. So great slate of games, only 8 of them. Listen, the second half of the season, that's when it really picks up, and we'll get a lot more games each week. A little bit of a lighter load for us here at the beginning of the season, which is good because these convention seasons, I'm telling you, coming up, the convention's a great time. But coming off the convention, it's like, all right, what are we supposed to be doing again? it's just chaos. It's fun chaos, but chaos nonetheless. So let's talk about the game that you and I are going to call. Houston at Fort Worth, South Division battle. Always exciting, always good. The South Division just knows how to bring it each and every season, let alone each and every week. Both of these teams lost their season opener. Houston rebounded in week 2 with a punishing victory over Queen City, like we talked about, and we just watched some highlights for 45-9. Fort Worth had week 2 off to recharge. So an early season game tonight that could have big tiebreaker implications down the line, because listen, the whole South Division was just one big tiebreaker scenario.
And division games early are so tough, too. So tough.
Yeah, absolutely. So, listen, Fort Worth may have had a worse record at the end of last season than Houston, but not by much. They were 7-5. Houston was 8-4. However, Fort Worth is just one of those teams that seems to always have their rivals' numbers. I think I beat them once, ever. And I hang my hat on that one. I beat them that one time.
We never beat them in Louisiana.
Yeah, no. You know what? Houston hasn't beat them in a long time either. Fort Worth has won the 6 previous matchups between Fort Worth and Houston, including twice last season, once in the regular season and again in the wild card round to end Houston's playoff hopes right then and there. Houston has played here in the Stockyards 5 times dating back to season 16. They've only beaten Fort Worth 1 time. So I know they had a great win last week. They really, really did over Queen City in Houston. They're on the road against a team that always seems to have their number. Houston does seem like a team that's on the rise. So do they finally have what it takes to topple Fort Worth, or will the Toros get their 7th straight victory in this Texas rivalry? Talk about Houston.
Look, and as you talked about, Houston rebounded very well last week with their 45-9 win versus Queen City. Their run game was really, really dominant with Tino Sosa and Baloo Scott, who rushed for a combined 173 yards, 4 touchdowns. 3 of those were by Baloo Scott, and they averaged 5 yards a carry each. So, look, and the Lake Man, he had a solid game as well. He didn't throw. They didn't ask him to do a whole bunch. 60% passing. Still pretty good. He completed 6 passes. 2 of those were touchdowns.
Right.
Did really, really well. Look, and this is the type of offense I expect to see throughout the season. And if they can stay consistent with it, I do think they can compete for the South. If they're able to, take that running game and keep it being dominant, play ball control ball, and only allow the Lake Man to just be able to do what he's needed to do, not what they want him to do, because sometimes it gets a little bit reckless, right? And you can throw a lot of picks and everything else, but only ask him to do what he's able to do when you need him and everything else. So they played really, really good offensively last week.
They sure did. Defensively in week 1, it was a little bit of a head scratcher. They surrendered nearly 400 yards of offense. Last week, not so much.
No, they only allowed 178 yards of total offense, 134 through the air, 44 in the rushing game. And they sacked the quarterback 6 times.
Yeah, no incentive money for that O-line.
No,
sorry, QCC.
And it was able to force a turnover and didn't allow a touchdown at all. Linebackers, Juan Mississippi, as we just saw, earlier, and Jason Peace were extremely dominant with shutting down the run game. Just by living in the backfield, they had a combined 9 TFLs between the two. The team as a total had 13 TFLs.
That's crazy.
So they had 9 of those. And Juan Mississippi had 2 sacks, which contributed to the TFLs as well. They rebounded in a very huge way, and they can be dangerous if they keep this up. Because you know what? If you can shut down a team's run game, and then you can sack the quarterback like they did, put pressure on the quarterback like they did, I do think that the way this defense and they're real streaky. Houston, as you know, you've been playing them forever, right? They get real streaky, right, with their play offensively and defense. If they can get one of them streaks going right now, they can get themselves. They can start separating themselves in the South. And their key players, I think, in the game later tonight, is going to be the running backs.
Yep.
Scott and Sosa, because they weren't very productive, like last week compared to, like in week 1 compared to what they were last week. And the Lake Man, keeping clean, just being, play your game. There's nothing wrong with being a game manager. It's okay. It's a good thing. People's won
just
championships doing that exact same thing.
And
linebackers, Juan Mississippi, Jason Peace, and Blake B. Craze. I love you, boy. And guess what? If they can come together and they can shut down the run game like they did, they can be extremely dangerous.
Yeah, they could beat anybody. I mean, the way that they played last week, I think that they could beat anybody. But can they beat Fort Worth? Fort Worth, like I said, 6 wins in a row over the past 6 matchups between Houston and the Fort Worth squad. But Fort Worth in week 1 really didn't look good. But they were on the road in Albuquerque, a team that's just looking even more dominant than almost anybody.
Yeah, look, and they're scaring the crap out of me. I'm not gonna lie. The way
you don't even got a team, and you're
I know,
scared.
and they're scaring the crap out of me. They're just come beat me in my sleep or something, right? So look, it was week 1. For them, and they played Albuquerque, like I said, a really good team. And they know how to just leave that game in the past in week 1, right?
Oh, because 3 points.
And they didn't make a whole lot of mistakes in week 1. They just played a team that just doesn't ever lose at home. Right? And they just ran right into it. And I know there's no panic at the stockyards and everything, right? Because they've been through ups and downs throughout their entire existence. And look, they have made the playoffs for 6 straight seasons. So they know how to weather these storms, right? You take a beat down, you just forget about it, right?
Yeah.
Just drop a new game plan and get it. Look, and this is credit to their top tier coaching. And they're doing this stuff in the toughest division in the SFL, right? So look, and they bring, over the course of those seasons, a top 10 defense, a top 10 offense.
Yep.
And that's how you create consistency over the past 6 seasons. They've done exactly that. They have the pieces in place. They have the coaching staff. They have the players and everything else. So I do think that this is going to be a really tough matchup for Houston for reasons like you said. They haven't beaten Fort Worth in a while, and they've only won one time in the Stockyards, right? So, and for them, in my opinion, look, and their key players that they're going to have to key on right now, it's going to be quarterback Eric Price, right? You need to be able to stay clean, and play that game. Like I said earlier, there's nothing wrong with being a game manager. Stephen Hacker, a future Hall of Famer, he is going to, have to step up. And Henry McGee, one of the fastest wide receivers that they have out there. And the defensive front of this team can be really dominant. With the Gons, right? Luther and Jerry D, along with, defensive end Jeff Gagne and defensive tackle Hendrick Callahan. I do think that's going to be the key to success. Controlling the line of scrimmage against a really good Houston offense. I do think if they can control that line of scrimmage right there on defense, they should be able to shut down that run game and allow the linebackers to do what they got to do to clean everything up.
Yeah.
And I do think they have themselves a pretty good chance to win.
Yeah, a lot of teams have to just kind of take week one for what it is. It's week one. If you get a win, great, congrats. You get a win. If you get a loss, you can't really sweat it. Even if it's a beatdown where you only score 3 points, it's like you said, crumple that up, throw it away, take a week off. Go to the stockyards, get yourself some brisket. There's some really great. Listen, I know I like to rag on the stockyards and everything Fort Worth related. I can't help it. It's just what I do. But they got some really good food there. They got this cattle march that goes down the street. Pretty cool place. So, listen, they just relax, regroup, get ready to go. This is a team. This is a Fort Worth team that even though they ended up finishing 4th in the standings, they were 1 win and 1 tiebreaker away from winning the South, So it's not a bad team. It's a team that definitely is going to compete for the South. Week 1 was a fluke. They had week 2 off. Here we go. They're back home. This is their home opener. It's gonna be a great game.
And just imagine being 4th in the best best division in the SFL, and you finish last in the division, and you still get in.
Yep.
Like, that means you're doing something really, really good. When you're playing a tough bit, you take them out and put them somewhere else.
Yeah.
They might be 8-4, 9-3, 10-2 in any other division. Why? Because they got to play such a gauntlet of games inside the division.
And they won a playoff game. They won in the wild card round. So they finished 4th in the division, but they made it in. They won a playoff game. Wasn't their season to win the championship, but listen, they're going to be just as competitive.
Wasn't
as ever.
All that long ago. They went undefeated in a regular season too.
They sure did.
A lot of people forget that.
They sure did. Let's talk about another couple of powerhouse teams now. The game coming up here in about 17 minutes time. Mexico City at Baltimore. So listen, after week 3 of last season, Mexico City was 2-0 and Baltimore was 2-1. For one of these teams, they're going to be heading into week 4 0-2. That's wild. Heading into week 4 0-2. Someone's going to lose. Both of these teams opened their season at home against tough opponents, like you had talked about. Both of those games were pretty challenging. Mexico City hosted Arizona. It's a team that I can never seem to beat. So why I begged and pleaded to take them on in the season opener, I don't know. I guess I'm just a glutton for punishment, because that's exactly what they did, is delivered me some punishment, like they have the previous 2 seasons as well. So it was a close game, 20-13. Wasn't a beatdown. It was close. It was competitive, but a loss is a loss. Baltimore, they hosted the other championship team from last season, Vancouver, and they lost that one in pretty dramatic, surprising fashion, 41-17. It's their largest margin of defeat since the quarterfinals of season 23. In Minnesota, they lost that one 48-21. Otherwise, if you take that season 23 loss out, you have to scroll way back in their history to see when they had a loss of that sort of magnitude. So surprising to say the least, especially it's not a team that loses at home. And, just like Albuquerque, obviously Albuquerque's literally never lost at home.
Right.
Baltimore's played a few more games, but, so here they are at home tonight. It's going to be a tough one. We'll see what happens, man. These franchises, they both still have very highly talented highly talented rosters. They have seasoned coaching staffs, but the scheduling gods set them both up for a gauntlet of not just a week, but of a season, man. Both of these teams' schedules are just brutal. And for one team, they'll get back on track tonight. For the other, a really tough start to a season lies ahead because, like I said, one of these teams is going to be 0-2.
And I'm sorry about Mexico City. The Aztecs, they lost in every aspect of week 1.
Oh, yeah.
They lost the game along with the heart rate challenge, right? Look, the higher the heart rate is the better, right?
Yes, yeah. Mine was broken. Sipe would throw a pick, my heart rate would go down. I'm like, am I dying?
It was like Eddie. Eddie was about to die.
Yeah.
But he propelled his team on to a win, right?
Sure did.
All kidding aside, I do think this team right here is just as business as usual, despite the forward turnover performance in week 1, right? Look, and they relied a bit more on MVP, right? Let's not forget Jordan Sipe was MVP last season. So they relied on him a little bit, more than what I expected to see, due to the run game not quite getting it done on the ground. They didn't really run all that often, and it wasn't all that well when they did. It was 50 yards combined with running back Bentley and Jacob Morrison out of the backfield, which contributed to, because they're asking Sipe to do a whole lot, those 4 interceptions that he threw put themselves in a really tough situation. They need to get the run game going a little bit better to get the offense in a better position to be able to protect that ball. You already know that. You're the guy that's doing the offense, right?
Yep.
So look, and they need to get the run game going to be able to protect the ball. Like I said, even with the 4 interceptions, wide receiver Noe Terrazas set a really good game. 8 receptions, 91 yards, a touchdown.
Yeah.
But I think this is one of the game changers for me. I think I said in the past, I think you need to get more tight end involvement as well. This offense, when I've seen them play, they're way better when tight end Bill Henry is actively involved in catching passes. He caught some last week, right? But I do think, hey, look, you got a run game going and you include him, dude, it just opens up the offense tremendously. And a Mike Daggs run offense, he has the ability to find the holes in the opposing defense, especially after a loss. I don't know if I've seen anyone more motivated.
I don't like
when
losing.
They lose. And you got a little bit, even at a minute amount of film study on opponent, the offense just starts to click, finds holes on the defense, and he's able to recognize. Prior to the game last week, you knew what the problem was. You're already working on fixing it as the game is progressing. So, offense could be it could be completely different. But I know you're going to find them holes and correct it on offense.
Yeah, there's gonna be some changes tonight. There's gonna be quite a bit of changes into the game plan. We're not, it's not going scorched earth. Listen, I don't feel that Mexico City necessarily did anything wrong last week. We just got outcoached and outplayed. It wasn't that Mexico City did bad. It was that Arizona just did really good. They did everything good. And like you talk about our defense, my offense set up our defense to fail. That's the bottom line. I mean, it's a great defense, but listen, there's only so much you can do when you're giving the ball away 4 times.
Yeah, and the defense was putting very, very bad, so they actually played pretty decent, right? But you know me, I got to nitpick at a bunch of shit. Just to go, excuse my language, got to nitpick at a bunch of stuff you guys didn't do right.
This is a family program.
They allowed 61% completion by the opposing quarterback.
Yeah,
they allowed, over 130 yards on the ground to the opposition's run game,
rare.
right? And it's, in my opinion, you guys on defense probably have Hall of Famers at almost every level, right? And having that type of talent across the defense is pretty unheard of for this. It was really uncharacteristic of, for things like that to happen. But you guys are the defending champs 2 times in a row for a reason. I am 100% sure that Joey Ramos-Lynn has already identified some of the issues like you have and is already working on fixing that defense while the game was going on last week. Found the holes, being able to get in there and shore it up, and I do believe they're going to be ready this week. And the key players this week for you guys, getting that running game going with Bentley, Morrison, and everything else. And who knows, you might have your fullback doing it too, right?
Yeah, Buford Van Dam.
And then you got, Noe Terrazas going to do things. The big one on offense for me is going to be Bill Henry.
Yeah.
On offense, in my opinion. On defense, it's going to be John Fowler. He had an excellent game. When you guys played in week 1, he was all over the field making tackles. But who was kind of MIA, in my opinion? Max Jackson. When he makes plays on defense, it changes it. It makes the offense scared to be able to throw the ball, run the ball wherever he's at. So those guys are going to be key to you guys on, being able to win the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully expect Bentley and Morrison to get more heavily involved. And Van Dam, we're going to call his number 4 short. Let's talk about Baltimore.
See, and look, in Baltimore, a tough offensive performance in week 1, against a Vancouver team a lot of people are saying could be possibly the best in the SFL. It's way too early to say that, but some people are saying it. I seen there was a poll after week 1 after they beat, Baltimore down. Somebody put a poll, hey, could they be the best team in the SFL right now? Look, and I can say the exact same thing about this team as I did with the Aztecs, right? Too many turnovers on offense. 4 interceptions by Jack Wigmore. 42% passing. That's all he had.
Yeah, it's wild.
A run game that was MIA. 46 yards combined with Warren Murray, T-Roy Gaines, and David Anderson. 3 of them for only 46 yards, along with the defense that allowed over 400 yards of offense, 243 in the air, 180 yards they allowed on the ground, and also 41 points.
Yep.
They just looked bad across. They need to play very, very well across the board. They, too, also have a really, really good coaching staff.
They do.
Know how to correct the problems, similar to what you guys have. Key players in this game for them. Wigmore, got to clean up the turnovers, just like side pass.
I'd prefer he doesn't.
And look, the run game, all carries. You got to get them going, right? And everything else.
Or don't. Sorry.
And the front 7, right? With Walker, Brown, Brady, and Leopold, along with the linebackers and Alvin Mack, Frank Smith, and Jeff Melanishin. Why? Because they allowed 180 yards. I know you guys want to get that ground game going.
Yes.
And those front 7 is going to have to attack the line of scrimmage and shut down those running lanes. So it's going to be really interesting to see up next on the Virtual Football Network to see how this is going to play out.
That's what's up, man. Less than 10 minutes until kickoff. I'm not scared at all. Totally fine. Let's just be glad that we shut that live heart rate monitor down, because I don't need to see that right now. I'm telling you, there was a weird sense of calm in week 1. Even as Sipe was throwing picks, my heart rate would go down. I don't know what's going on. Listen,
maybe you were dying.
I think I was.
Eddie was dying because his heart rate was up here. Yours was just.
I was just decaying. I'm getting old. I don't know. Robert Henson's in the chat saying, I hate this, but let's go Mexico City.
There you go.
Love you too, Robert. And Eddie Gage says, outcoached, I'm in tears. So I made Eddie cry. Therefore, I feel like
he
did
He did it for 2 weeks. He had to pull one out of his behind last week, but it still worked.
He did.
Coaching's coaching.
Coaching's coaching. Absolutely. All right, let's get into our picks, and then we'll get into our games tonight, because we've got a few of them. We don't want to have anything run behind. So in the picks battle, here we are. Look at that. You're 8-9, and I'm 11-6. You have a losing record, my guy.
Talk about being a loser. This looks like a Louisiana record for me. I'm fitting right in. I'm right where I want to be. That's my sweet spot,
yeah,
bro.
You should be wearing a Rev shirt, not this Willson shirt, man. I don't know, you look good though. But
mediocre all across the board. Here we go.
We're off to a shaky start, but I'll take my 11-6. It's not too bad after.
It's better than 8-9.
Yeah. I wasn't going to rub that in. All right, let's jump right into our picks this week. Mexico City at Baltimore coming up next.
Yeah, look, and I'm going to take the 2-time defending champions. Why? Because I've seen it time and time again. They lose, and then you put the biggest opponent in front of them after a loss. It's like that extra. I don't know where y'all pull it from, because you're already going 100 miles an hour anyway, but you guys just got it. Must be the tacos of Mexico City. I have no idea.
Barbacoa, baby.
It's working, and the Jarritos you're
Oaxaca
sucking down
quesadillas.
too. But guess what? I think the Mexico City Aztecs are going to go into Baltimore, where it's very tough to win for an opponent, and they're going to win.
In Mexico City for me, of course, I'll never pick against my own team. I don't care who we're playing or when. Detroit at Oklahoma City.
Now, look.
At Oklahoma City.
And this is the thing, right? So I talked about how I love the logo scheme and everything about Detroit, man.
Yeah.
But they pulling out these uniforms that I'm not impressed. And guess what? They didn't really impress. Like in week 1, they lost. I get it. But even last week, they played at home. They didn't really impress.
Yeah.
Right? It was 6-9. They they won. Not 6-9, 6-9-3.
Yeah.
And they able to pull it out. But they didn't look overly impressive to me. But what I seen the team do on the road was OKC go into Minnesota and be real resilient, put up a lot of points, and be able to win that game. OKC at home. Detroit, I don't think you're going to pull this one out. OKC wins their 2nd in a row.
Listen, we've constantly said I want to be able to pick OKC, but I got to see him win first. I saw him win, and I saw him win convincingly. Give me Oklahoma City by 2 scores or more. Let's see. We won't pick Houston-Fort Worth because we're going to call that game, so we'll move on to Vancouver at Arizona. Undefeated Arizona, but Vancouver, they're looking pretty good.
Arizona kind of had a stumble last week in the game. Given in my opinion, given the opponent that they played, they were better on paper, right? But games aren't won on paper.
Right.
Vancouver went into Baltimore and won huge. Played really well. But guess what? Eddie Gage is, he played week 1 a gauntlet, and then guess what? You're playing another really tough team.
Yeah.
And Eddie Gage was the one who actually put on the show. So, hey, look, it's Vancouver the best team. So don't think he wasn't eyeing this game up, which is why he got in trouble last week. He was looking at Vancouver instead of the opponent he was playing. But guess what? Eddie Gage is going to bring it at home, and he's going to win this game and say, hey, look, I'm back, baby. Pick 6 or not, I'm back. Arizona wins.
You can't get through an Arizona pick without mentioning one of them pick 6s. So listen, I already made Eddie Gage cry once earlier tonight. I'm gonna make him cry again. Give me Vancouver in this one. Watching Vancouver not only in week 1, but how about the second half of last season? Granted, yes, we beat them twice. The first time we beat them pretty convincingly in the championship. It was a much tougher game, still solid victory, but Vancouver is a solid team, and they are another team that knows how to learn from their mistakes and correct things. And the way that they went into Baltimore in week 1 and just beat the snot out of them, there's no way to sugarcoat that. I think they can win on the road again. Arizona won by 1 score in week 1. They won by 1 score in week 2. I don't think they're going to win in week 3. I think this might be where the magic fizzles out. They're going to be 2-1. Albuquerque at Denver. The hat's his hair.
Yeah. So look, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, right? I'm loving on Denver now.
No kidding.
And it's all because of
idea.
Jimmy. If I could marry that man, I probably would, and probably just steal his hair. I don't know. But look, the defensive scheme they put together, right? We all know how Albuquerque plays on the road versus at home. Now I know they look way different this year than what they have in the past. How dominant they're winning. But man, if anybody can scheme against an offense like that to stop them, a ball control offense, it's Hatsis. He's proved that in week 1 and what they did. The offense wasn't great, but that defense is so strong with the schemes that they do. Look, and they don't have any kind of crazy superstars, on that team outside of Chuck Diesel and Tank Bennett, right? Because we all know where they're from, but you know what I mean? So look, and they go there, and look, and I do think Hatsis is going to have it together, and that, Michael Goodman's going to have that offense running just enough to put points on the board. I think it's going to be a really close game. I think last possession wins it, and Denver takes it.
I'm also going to go with Denver. It took me a while to make this pick. Albuquerque just looked so good in weeks 1 and 2. But that whole home and away thing, I can't get past it until they can get past it. So give me Denver at home. I want to see what they can do against a team like Albuquerque. Winless Carolina at winless Pittsburgh.
Look, and none of these teams looked impressive over the last couple of weeks, right? Carolina played in week 1, right? Had a week off and everything else. Pittsburgh looked better in week 1 than what they did in week 2, both on the road. And you threw it all up in my face last week.
I did.
That they can't win on the road.
And they didn't.
And they still didn't.
Yeah.
But guess what? Pittsburgh is at home. So Louisiana North, back over there in the hog pen. I got to take them. Why? Because Carolina, I just like to hate on you sometimes. Pittsburgh, you better win.
I'm going with Carolina because I don't pick based on just my feelings like you do, apparently. Carolina.
That's why I'm 8-9.
I just feel like even though that they didn't win in week 1, they had week 2 off. They've been looking at Pittsburgh and what they've done in weeks 1 and 2. Give me Carolina on the road in Pittsburgh. Sin City at Bossier City.
I am going with Bossier City here, and it's not because they're in Louisiana, even though I do support the Louisiana team. I do think they're a better team. Yeah. Like the talent is put together, right? They had a couple of hard things on the road. They too played a couple of games on the road, right? And being able to do the stuff. So I do think Bossier City is able to pull it out. Sin City doesn't have, I think, enough, especially on the road. They too have always been bit by the bug. I can win at home and not on the road, right? And Bossier City's playing at home, and I do think their talent is better. Their coaching is slightly better.
Yep.
And I do think they take it.
Yeah, I agree. Give me Bossier City as well. Bossier City at 0-2 is just one of those things that's kind of like, well, that just looks weird. It's going to be the same with, either Mexico City or Baltimore. Right. Whoever loses in this game coming up in just a couple minutes, one of them is going to be 0-2 going into next week. That's going to look weird for both of those teams as well. Both are good. Someone's going to lose. Bossier City's 0-2 right now. I think that comes to an end this week, tomorrow night. Charleston at Florida.
I just can't get on the Florida bandwagon. They lost a lot of stuff, in my opinion. Yep. They lost good players like Juan Mississippi. They lose a Hall of Fame quarterback and everything else. And I know a lot of people don't think that it's anything, but guess what? I do think that Charleston is going to go into Florida
Yeah.
and beat Florida. Charleston is looking really, really good.
They are.
And they looked good last season. They just
They
didn't
did.
have they just had the wins to count for.
No, they had a lot of fluke stuff happen.
Right.
Where
And
they
guess
would
what?
lose
They're
games.
going to go into Florida
Yeah.
and they're going to win this game and they're going to go 3-0.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I'm also going to go with Charleston. Give me Charleston to go 3-0 after the first 3 weeks of the season. Who would have thought that would have been said? But yeah, that's what I think is going to happen. Why? Because I had faith in Florida in week 1, and they helped me out. Listen, they were down 17-0 and ended up coming back to win that game. Week 2, they just looked lost, and I'm not sure that they actually have it together yet. Especially not against a team that won their first 2 games, with some pizzazz to them. So give me Charleston on the road, picking a bunch of road teams this week. So we'll see how that pans out. Maybe you'll have a winning record. Maybe.
Let's go for it. I don't know, man. I like to stay around the mediocre
Yeah.
range until we get in the middle of the season. Then I start making smart picks and not feeling picks.
And then you still lose.
I still lose.
It's all good, man. It's all good. All
I'm
right,
going for 100 wins this season. 100 wins.
Well, it's ambitious. That's all the time that we got. I'm Mike. This is Gerald. This has been the Matt Willson SFL Kickoff Show. We've got Mexico City at Baltimore coming up next, and also just 15 minutes later, Detroit at Oklahoma City. Pick the game you want to watch or watch them both. Thanks for joining us. Stay tuned. We'll get these games started after this.